All right, welcome to Patriots Corner Live with Dr. Hill Law, your source for unfiltered conservative analysis. We're here to dissect this week's biggest stories in politics and the economy, all from a grounded perspective. No spin, just straight talk about what matters to you. We'll delve into the issues shaping our nation, hold our leaders accountable, and discuss and debate solutions that uphold our core American values. If you're new here, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future streams. And right now, I try to do them every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, but sometimes it ends up being Monday. While this last week was pretty eventful, except for when Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the extradition of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the U.S. on Friday evening to face charges of human smuggling, then obviously everything hit the fan after all of the left and prominent Democrats kept up their attacks on ICE and DHS this week. Then on Friday night in LA, it all culminated in riots and radical speakers radical attackers started attacking ICE and DHS officials. On Saturday morning, ICE had to call the FBI to help them on a raid in Paramount, California, due to far-left activists and Antifa trying to stop them from completing their duties, which by late afternoon had turned into an all-out lawlessness and riots, and even the LA SWAT, then the National Guard, had to be deployed in Paramount, California to put down the anti-ICE mobs. So I'll let you know, as you can catch Patriots Corner, like I said, usually every Sunday or Wednesday, and sometimes it's Friday, just depending, evening, live on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and Facebook, and Instagram, if you can catch it live. If not, you can catch all the episodes on Spotify, or you can get them on the website at patriotscornerwithdrhilllaw.com. Now, just let you know, the way I do this is I set it up to where I'll do a segment. At the end of the segment, I'll go back and look at all of the I'll go back and look at my if I have any comments or anything like that. And then if I have any comments, I will take a look at them, answer any questions if I have any, and then go through that at the end of the show, at the end of that section. And then I will go on to the next segment. So let's go ahead and get started. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in that's here. Please, like I said, check me out you can get this on YouTube. Also go to the website, check it out. And then I just started uploading them again to Spotify, trying to get on some other ones. But as of right now, those are the only sites I am on. So usually I start with main content, but tonight I'm going to start with the breaking news with everything that is going on. Trying to figure out what's going on make sure my live is working on YouTube here, because it's not pulling up. There we go. All right, cool. So usually I start with main content, but tonight I'm over here. I want to make sure I have it on there. All right, so let's get started on the breaking news segment. Obviously, the recent developments have unfolded in Los Angeles, California, following the anti-ICE protests that began on Friday evening. These demonstrations have swiftly transitioned from civil expression to pronounced violence. The escalation reached a critical point by Saturday night, continuing into Sunday, necessitating federal intervention. Now, obviously, the Democrats don't think so, but President Trump invoked his authority to federalize the California National Guard, ordering their immediate deployment to the Los Angeles metropolitan area. This decision came after it became apparent that the combined efforts of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and local law enforcement agencies were insufficient to contain the burgeoning unrest and reestablish order within the city of Los Angeles. This series of events bears a striking resemblance to the turbulent period of President Trump's initial term in office. A narrative has emerged where the Democratic left and prominent mainstream media outlets have commenced a coordinated campaign against President Trump's administration. Their focus is on criticizing the government's responses to what they characterize as peaceful protests. However, this characterization is vehemently contested by those who have witnessed the unfolding situation firsthand. Individuals observing the events without bias can discern that the disturbances are far from peaceful, as reports of violent confrontations and property damage continue to emerge from the area. The validity of the peaceful protest claim is undermined by the concrete evidence of escalating disorder and violence, which promoted federal intervention. Since Saturday afternoon, live video and pictures have shown cars tagged with spray paint sit in the middle of the road as so-called peaceful protesters light them on fire and encircle the cars holding Mexican flags and yelling "Down with ICE" or "ICE leave or release them all." Also, in one incident, while police officers with the LA Police Department were driving down the highway, the so-called peaceful protesters started lobbing pieces of cement, rocks, and bottles at the police cars from the bridge above, causing damage and endangering the lives of the officers and other motorists driving down the highway. Additionally, the insurrection took control of the 110 freeway, blocking the freeway and halting traffic. Along with the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, calling for ICE to leave the state of California and ignoring federal law because their feelings mean more, rioters continue today as agitators smash LAPD headquarters windows and set more cars ablaze. Also, Gavin Newsom dared Tom Homan to arrest him while defending the state's handling of anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles in an interview with Fox News on Monday morning on Fox and Friends. The reaction was in response to Tom Homan's comments that Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass could face federal charges for trying to impede ICE operations throughout the city. According to the New York Post, Tom Homan told Fox News that he had told an NBC reporter that no one's above the law, but says there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. Homan's direct quote was, "What we discussed was for those protesters that cross the line, you can protest, you get your First Amendment rights. But when you cross that line, you put your hands on an ICE officer, or you destroy property, or I'd say that you impede law enforcement, or you knowingly harboring or concealing an illegal alien. That's a crime, and the Trump administration is not going to tolerate it," he said. He then said a reporter asked him, "Well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested?" Homan replied, "Well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can." So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. While President Trump has done everything he can to ensure the safety and security of citizens of California, California Democratic leaders and Governor Gavin Newsom have called President Trump a dictator who wants a civil war, and that they plan on suing the Trump administration and Hegseth for deploying the National Guard over the governor and local law enforcement's objections. Additionally, another breaking news story that emerged today is that President Trump's team is meeting with China for trade talks in London today, aiming to finalize some of the remaining aspects of the trade deal. On Fox Business this morning on Barney & Co., Michael Pillsbury, a Fox News contributor and Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow on China strategy, was a guest. Pillsbury said the key for the United States is unleashing our own economy. Pillsbury noted that the one side portrays China as weak, desperate, and on the verge of collapse due to unemployment and an overall dire situation. Now, if that's true, he said, the negotiation should be over in a couple hours. He said on his thinking is that China is actually strong. He said they have discovered a rare earth card that they can play, which makes us desperate. According to Pillsbury, in a worst-case scenario, American chip and battery manufacturers, as well as rare earth factories, could be shut down entirely if China were to stop trading rare earth minerals to the United States. One more section. I'm going to cover one more section of breaking news for my local Texas viewers. After all the severe storms last night, I hope you made it through the night without experiencing any major damage. If you did, I pray for you and your family for quick recovery, and that for your family. In Benbrook last night, straight line winds were clocked in at over 105 miles an hour, and areas north of Dallas saw grapefruit-sized hail and tornadoes along with the winds. So don't get too comfortable, guys, because we still have a chance of more severe weather this week with a 57% chance of thunderstorms on Friday, according to the latest update from the Weather Channel. While currently I mainly cover topics related to politics, legislation, and other social issues, if I eventually gain enough viewers from the Texas area, I might start adding a weather section too, since I am an amateur storm chaser and have access to all the radars through the storm chasing app on my phone that the Weather Channel and all the news channels do, which is kind of nice. It's either in Texas, you either learn how to read radar or you learn how to be scared. Now, as we come to the end of our breaking news segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. So don't forget to check out Patriots Corner with drhillot.com. That's our website again. It's Patriots Corner with drhillot.com. Also, you can sign up for free to access our weekly blog on our website, receive notifications about our next lives, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show and through subscribing and gain access to extra content and participate in one-on-one discussions. Let's see if we got anybody in here. I got 2 viewers, but I don't see any comments yet. I'm not seeing any on the multi-stream. Got it, live chat. All right, so I don't see any on my Twitch, so I was trying to see if we had anything, but I'll do that later. Alrighty, let me get a drink, and then we'll get started with the next segment. Let me bring this mic down some. Get started here on the next segment, which is going to be my political commentary segment. See if we can get a couple more viewers in here. And then don't see anybody on the chat and YouTube. So I got one watching now from YouTube, and then I don't know where the other one. All right, so let's get on the political commentary segment since nobody's got in the comments. Democratic leaders in LA and across the nation are the ones responsible for these protests turned violent, as they have over the last couple of months been comparing ICE and Border Patrol agents to the police in communist Russia before the Berlin Wall fell, or to the Nazi police, the Gestapo. All right, what do you expect? That is literally inciting people to attack them. Other Democratic leaders have said that they were going to dox all the ICE and CBP officials who were wearing masks to cover their faces while conducting raids to arrest criminal illegal immigrants. If it weren't for all of the defamatory attacks from the left on ICE and CBP agents outside of the ones who work undercover, they would have no reason to wear a mask. But when you're threatening to dox them, give out their information to their home, where their family and their friends live, and they're worried about their family getting injured or attacked, or their house getting attacked, or them getting attacked and possibly even killed. So, of course, they're going to wear masks to cover their identity. But that has nothing to do with the fact that they want to wear them. That has to do with the fact that the left is sitting out there and vilifying them as if they are the bad guy, when they are the ones who are doing their job. They're not out there breaking the law. They're out there doing what their job, just like anybody else is to do, and what 54% of the American people still today want done, and that is to deport criminal legal immigrants. That's what they're doing. I'm sorry, but when you sit there and compare people to the Gestapo, you are literally invoking emotion in your constituents and in your followers to go out there and act. I mean, today, it was earlier today that I can't even think of her name right now, but she was in California trying to break into a federal facility, and then when they wouldn't let her in, she started telling people, "Don't back down, fight. Don't be scared. Don't be scared of them. They can't do nothing to you. Keep on pushing. Get through." I mean, she was literally egging the people on to try to break through National Guardsmen so they could get in there and let everybody out of the detention center. Maxine Waters, that's who it was. I mean, this is insane. For her saying what she did, she should be censured, if not charged with inciting a riot. I don't care about, that's not protected by the First Amendment. And it shouldn't be protected by the debate and speech clause. No. That shouldn't be. Now, but when you are worried about people showing up at your home or attacking your own family in public for doing nothing other than, like I said a minute ago, doing the job you were hired to do, it's unreal to think that anyone wouldn't wear such masks to protect themselves. Now, obviously, there are some of them that work undercover with the drug cartels and stuff. So if they were to have with all these cameras following them around, all the media following them around, if they were to have their identity exposed on the news and stuff, it could literally threaten them and any family member they have, because that's how it goes with the drug cartels, is they will go after anybody. They don't care. everybody is free game with them. Now, another issue with these protests is that they claim they are fighting for American rights and freedoms, yet they are running around carrying Mexican flags and burning the American flag. How can you claim you are protesting for American values, yet run around holding the Mexican flag? While I understand the importance of honoring your heritage, that's fine. But still, if you love other countries so much that you would rather fly their flags, then perhaps maybe you should consider leaving America and returning to the country of the flag you're waving. But yet you're sitting here protesting that you don't ever want to go back to that country, but yet you're protesting with their flag and then burning our flag. That makes no logical sense at all. It shows the illogical, emotional drive of this and just the idiocy of it. I mean, you are literally committing insurrection, possibly treason, on some of the stuff that has happened when you're trying to get in federal, especially on other levels, and yet you're saying you don't want to be deported back to Mexico, but yet you're going to sit there and run around with the Mexican flag. That makes no sense at all. Because the flag is the country. It's not who's in power. It's not what political party's in power. Conservatives don't start burning flags because there's some liberal in there we don't like Joe Biden. We don't go burning buildings and destroying property and attacking federal jails because we don't agree what the left is doing. We do it the way it's supposed to, which is through speech, debate, and public policy. I mean, the comparisons made by individuals on the political left between the events unfolding in Los Angeles this weekend and the January 6th incident are fundamentally disingenuous. Moreover, the actions currently transpiring in Los Angeles constitute a textbook example of an insurrection. All right. According to both Webster's and Oxford dictionaries, an insurrection is defined as an organized and frequently violent act or revolt of rebellion perpetrated by a group of citizens or subjects against an established government or governing authority. Clear as day is what it is. And analyzing this definition with objectivity, it becomes clear that the anti-ICE protests, which have now developed any measures to halt or condemn these activities. And another reason why you know these are paid and coordinated is during the day which even the day people have got to be paid, or I don't know how you can afford to protest every day and not work. But the daytime people are the ones they're out there just protesting, being civil, everything. But as soon as the sun starts going down, you get all the people coming out there with masks and all black covering the whole body. But wait, I thought you can't wear a mask. I thought, according to Cory Booker, you were going to dox anybody that was wearing a mask. But yet these anarchists and these paid, literally professional protesters and professional agitators are then coming out there in masks and starting all the stuff. And obviously it only takes one or two of those to get everybody else to follow because of herd mentality, especially when you're in an emotional time like that. You get a lot of people you get the herd mentality, and maybe the people went down there to protest peacefully, but a couple people start going across the line, then everybody starts joining in. Maybe a couple don't. Maybe there's some that are strong enough that aren't as emotionally invested that'll be like, oh, I'm getting out of here. It's getting too bad. But a lot of people won't. They will sit there and keep going and going and going because that's how herd mentality works. Now, evidence suggests that these protests are orchestrated and directed by seasoned agitators operating on the far left fringes of the Democratic Party. Despite this, a misguided belief persists that condoning such actions is somehow a strategically advantageous political maneuver against Trump. This stance neglects the severe implications of allowing such disruptive and potentially dangerous demonstrations to continue unchecked, ultimately eroding the foundations of law and order. It is as if the left is trying to manifest all the lies that they perpetrated about President Trump was going to, when he was getting elected, then to declare martial law nationwide and become a dictator, ending our nation's republic. If you think unrest in one state will cause President Trump to make that move, you're sorely mistaken. Also, if insurrections like this start breaking out all over the nation because President Trump's administration is following current federal immigration laws and accomplishing a campaign promise, it won't be President Trump who is at fault. It will be the far left agitators who are responsible for starting it. Now, if President Trump ends up having to declare national martial law nationwide, it won't be because he planned it all along or even wanted to. It will be because of the far left, George Soros, and their New World Order cabal, who are willing to do anything to stop President Trump from deporting all the illegal immigrants, of whom were supposed to be their new voting bloc that would assure them the next 50 plus years regaining and maintaining a hold on power, because they know that these third and fourth generation Americans are finally waking up to the Democratic agenda and they're stopping the vote for them. And so they figure if they bring in 11 million illegal immigrants, if at least 3%, if they get them all approved for citizenship, if less than 3 or 4% of those always vote Democrat, they just guaranteed themselves winning the presidency for the next 50 years until those people finally start becoming Americans and then wisen up to the Democrats' control. But probably by that time it'd be too late, and our country would not be the United States of America anymore. It'd be a freaking communist nation under the United Nations. Because that's the way it's going. If President Trump hadn't gotten elected, this country would have gone so far socialist, so close to socialism, it's not even funny, because they were slowly stripping away at our rights, slowly doing stuff to take them away so they could slowly do it without us knowing. The only reason President Trump gets so much press about what he's doing is because he doesn't do it backhanded like that. He lets you know what he's doing. Now, I had a liberal comment on my post recently on Instagram that said, "Why do you keep calling them criminal illegal immigrants? These individuals arrested were kitchen workers." I replied, "Do you know how ignorant that makes you sound? You don't believe that criminals who work a regular job, you don't believe criminals work jobs? Come on, it doesn't matter what they do for work. They can still commit heinous crimes. Look at Kilmar Baker Garcia. He lived in a middle-class home with a family. However, he was still an MS-13 gang member who has been accused of human smuggling, being complicit in the murder of a rival gang member's mother, disseminating child pornography, and other heinous crimes. And suppose a criminal doesn't work a regular job or put on a facade of being a normal, law-abiding citizen or family person. In that case, they're only leaving themselves vulnerable and susceptible to being caught really quickly. Some of your most famous and infamous mobsters were well-respected and prominent businessmen in their community. So if it was hard for people to believe that they would commit the heinous act they were accused of in the end when they were finally caught from doing it. So it has nothing to do with what job they worked that they committed a crime. While I understand that the Constitution and that the freedom of speech and assembly are cornerstones of our freedom, one still can't yell fire in a crowded theater or use fighting words. I genuinely believe that if the Democratic leaders who have been fomenting this violence through their rhetoric were regular citizens, they would have already been arrested and charged if they had that much power. Because the only problem is that members of Congress also have another clause in the Constitution that protects their speech, known as the debate and speech clause, which is another reason we need to call for an Article 5 Convention of the States, because the debate and speech clause needs to be updated for the modern era so they can't get away with violating the First Amendment but still get protected when the rhetoric and vitriol they spew causes citizens to rise up and commit insurrection against the opposing party. That's literally, yeah, I know. Hidden in plain sight, best way to get away with it. Yeah. And that's what I think is funny is this lady tried to say, oh, they were kitchen workers. Come on. I don't care. One of the most infamous serial killers in the world, nobody thought he was a serial killer. John Wayne Gacy. He was good with kids. He lived in a nice middle-class home, a nice area. He was like an engineer or something, really smart, intelligent. So that beats nothing. But all the stuff that they were going to this weekend in LA on Friday and Saturday that started this whole riot stuff, they were literally going in there to working on it was money laundering, some other stuff. One person was convicted of penetrating a person with a foreign object. And they were also, in bigger investigation, went into ties of money laundering for the drug cartels. So it's not like they were going in on families. And see, the reason why you don't have this stuff happen in Texas, because in Texas, when our jails or our sheriffs arrest somebody and that person is held until the ICE gets there. So these sanctuary cities are the ones causing it, because when there was literally a person that they just picked up off the streets that had murdered a person, and the governor they let go on their own recognizance because they didn't want him to get picked up by ICE, but he murdered somebody. I mean, really, come on. If you don't want ICE going into the regular community to have to go look for these murderers, or being at the workplaces and other people getting swept in it because they're illegals, and they can't just ignore it when they catch other illegal immigrants up in the crossfire. I mean, they're not going to ignore them because they're going to deport them anyways. But if they would actually keep those criminal illegal immigrants in the jails, then they could just go pick them up in the jails, and they wouldn't have to go out into the community to do it. So it's actually the sanctuary city policies that are literally causing them to do this. It's not that they want to. Trust me, they don't want to go out and have to look for these dangerous criminals out in the open. They would rather pick them up in a jail and then just take them straight to be deported, because they're out there risking their lives, risking getting attacked, risking getting shot. Now they got to worry about crazy freaking activists and anti-ICE people getting in their way and possibly even exposing them, and then giving that person either time to get away or that person time to attack them. So it's insane I just don't see how the left keeps getting away with this and keeps getting away with this. And I don't know how many times they've tried to say, oh, these are peaceful protests, but yet right after that, a car explodes and is on fire. That's not a peaceful protest. If you want to count just daytime on the weekday today, yes, they were mainly peaceful protests, because it's the agitators that come in the afternoons. They come in evenings and wearing masks and stuff, and they're paid to do it. I mean, that's all they do. And it's the only way it's going to stop it is if the left actually stops. If they're not happy with President Trump's policies and agendas, that's fine. Then tell your people to make sure they get out to vote this in the midterms in 2026. Tell them to make sure they get out to vote in 4 years. But don't sit there and tell them to attack National Guardsmen and to attack police officers and to go commit property damage and looting and property destruction and assaulting officers. And I mean, I was listening to Fox News on the way home during Laura Ingram's show, and she was interviewing one of the guys that's out there, and he said that he had saw a guy that had a MAGA hat on that was a camouflage hat that was walking by it, and some of the protesters saw him and were chasing him and beating him. And literally, the cops had to break it up because he was all bloody because they were trying to beat him for just wearing a hat. That is what this rhetoric of the left is doing. When they know sure as hell that he is not a Nazi, that he is not a dictator, that he's not authoritarian, they're the ones that are pulling his arm, making him do it, because they think, oh, we can cause him enough strife and we can cause him enough trouble that he will back down and he will give up and he won't do it because he won't want to look like this way, and we can just force him to do it, when that's not Trump. He's not going to back down. He's not going to give up. He's going to do everything within the ability of his legal ability to do it. And for anybody that says he doesn't follow the law, he did get Kilmar Brago Garcia back. Maybe it took a little bit, because considering you have to deal with foreign relations and all that stuff, but he still got him back. So he does listen to it. When some people say, oh, he said he doesn't know about the Constitution. No, all he said is that he's not a constitutional attorney. He's not a constitutional lawyer. So he leaves that up to his lawyers to decide and goes by the authority from his lawyers. I work in real estate development. Okay. I know, obviously I'm getting my doctorate in law and policy, and I understand it, but I still listen to the attorneys, because they are the ones that know real estate law. They're the ones who know federal grant law. They're the ones who know tax credit law. So I listen to them on if something works or not. I always call them to ask. That's just something, as being a real estate developer, that he's used to doing. That's how you do it. You go you follow your attorney's directions. You don't just assume. So he didn't want to say whether it was constitutional or unconstitutional or not constitutional without saying the direction of his attorneys. Just like when it comes to the 14th Amendment, it's not saying that he doesn't know the Constitution, but here's the thing with the Constitution, a lot of people don't understand, and especially under people, is, okay, it's not black and white. You can't I can give I can give a copy of the Constitution with all the amendments, all the clauses, which really gets long. Not just the 28 amendments, but all the different clauses and sub amendments and everything that goes on to those that backs them of the policy side of it. Not just the constitutional side, but the legislative policy side of it, all the policies and legislation that's attached to each amendment and all that. I can give a list of maybe 4 of those amendments to everybody, to a bunch of different people, and ask them to write me an interpretation of what that amendment reads. And the majority of almost everybody, you'll probably get at least half of them saying something different than the other half, because it's based on your knowledge or your understanding or your how you let your feelings or your beliefs affect your interpretation of the Constitution. If you read it as originalist from the perspective of when it was written and what it was meant, then it's pretty basic on what the Constitution means, and there's nothing. But if you are a more liberal person and you believe in what's called the living Constitution, then you don't look at what the Constitution was read when it, the way it reads when it was written. You read it as what it should match with your feelings today. And that's not how it's supposed to be done on the Supreme Court. Everybody says it's 3 co-equal branches. No, it's not. After you actually read the Federalist Papers and everything like that, the least powerful branch is the judiciary. So it's not really 3 co-equal branches. There are checks and balances of 3 branches to enact checks and balances of power on the other. But they are not 3 co-equal branches. That is totally different. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is they keep on saying this, co-equal branches of government. No, there's not. But over the last 100 years, the judiciary is trying to start being a quasi-legislation from the bench and have started making rulings on stuff that's not there that they believe should have been there. Just like if you look back to when the 14th Amendment was passed, it was passed to give citizenship to former slaves and the children of former slaves or slaves. It was not meant to give citizenship to every single person who steps foot inside of the United States and was born here. That is not what it was meant to do. It was meant to overturn Dred B. Scott, which was a heinous decision by the Supreme Court where they got it wrong, that said slaves or children of slaves were not awarded citizenship of the United States. Even though they were forced here, they were brought here against their own will. That's what the 14th Amendment was to do, was to give them citizenship, because they did not come here on their own. I'm sorry, these illegal immigrants came here on their own. And honestly, people try to say they're humanitarians and that they want to be equal and all this stuff. Well, know what? Then you don't want birthright citizenship, because look, they're literally a lot of the people down in Mexico, especially that don't understand English or don't live deep far enough that they don't really get a lot of English channels or watch English news, don't understand. I mean, most of the people in America don't understand immigration law, much less even the people trying to come from another country. And so they're getting told from the cartel members and the coyotes that, hey, if you give us 10,000 pesos or 10,000 US dollars, so hundreds of even more pesos, 20,000, 30, whatever pesos, and you get into America and you have that baby there, then you're going to get a citizenship because your child does. But that's a lie. So they go off and risk their life, their limb, their child's life, and possibly even being sexually assaulted or raped by the coyotes, or even being forced into sexual labor on a lie. So the true humanitarian thing to do would be to get rid of the birthright citizenship, reform our immigration laws so they can't be switched as much from president to president, and that really make it to where the only adjustments the president can do are on visas and accepting the refugee status numbers or the other numbers for that. But as far as the no catch and release, they have to be caught, deported. There's no catch and release, period. That gets removed from even being an option. But we also make it to where immigration law is the process to get citizenship or get to a work visa is easier and better marketing and getting that information to people who would want it, to let them know, okay, you can go to this app on your phone and apply for citizenship. And then maybe we make it to where if you don't have a college degree or whatever, and you really can't really contribute to society majorly, but let's say you're 18 or something, you're a male or female and you're 18 to 20 years old, then fine. If you want to get citizenship, you can serve 8 years in the military. At the end of that 8 years, you get your citizenship, and if you have a husband or wife and kids, they get theirs too. That way they're learning English, they're getting job training, and they can actually contribute to society, because the welfare program, our Medicaid and Medicare are they're not too far from being dead broke. They're already costing us money. The money we have to borrow on Medicaid is like $400,000 a couple over a lifetime in retirement. Social Security is going to be insolvent by 2035. I mean, 2034. We'll have to, in 2034, we'll have to borrow over $600 billion just to get us through the end of that year. And that would require 20% in payouts the next year, which would more than double the senior poverty rate. Because the problem is we haven't been stealing money from the Social Security fund. The problem is we've been drawing money out, but not put enough money back in. We haven't been approving enough in the budget to put the money back in that was supposed to go in. And also the other fact is that we have more coming out than we have people actually working in, because we've got the baby boomers all coming to retirement age. And considering on average, you're getting $800 to $1,200 per month, and the average person individually probably maybe pays no more than $200 a month in. So you need multiple people just to cover one person. And you've got, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to have over 70 million baby boomer retirees, which means it's not possible. It doesn't work. It doesn't count. The numbers don't compute. And you can cut out all the stuff you can stop paying all of Congress, both houses. You could let go of 40,000 federal employees. Don't pay them nothing. Don't pay them retirement. You could cut all your discretionary spending, whether it's with military, defense, foreign aid, any of that. And you would still only save 6 months of borrowing. 6 months of spending, 6 months of borrowing, not even spending. Over a 10-year period. That would only save 6 months. Because of the fact that the average person, I can't remember if it was per person or if it was married couple, but I think he did say married couple, but the average married couple pays in about $166,000 over their working lifetime. But yet from the time they retire till the time they pass, they receive about over $500,000 in care, which means the government is paying over $400,000 per couple or per household per senior household in medical care, more than what they get for it. The only way that we're really going to balance our budget is to find cures for diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2, find ways to get cheaper treatments, because that's the most expensive part of Medicaid and Medicare is the cost of medication and the cost of treatments. If you could do cures and it's only a one-time cost, it would save trillions of dollars. And then maybe we can actually start thinking about doing some serious stuff to balance our budget. But considering nobody will touch Social Security, nobody will touch Medicaid and Medicare, Republicans are willing to it, but the Democrats then go, oh, the Republicans are trying to throw grandma and grandpa off a cliff. They're lying to their constituents. They don't want to tell them the truth, because right now they look, oh, we'll kick the can down the road. We'll stay in power. We'd rather stay in power, just kick the can down the road to the next generation. They've been doing that for the last 2 generations. Eventually, we're not going to have a fucking country left. Because right now, we are on track just for the interest payments to be 155% of our GDP in 10 years. Our interest rates will be over $2 trillion. Just our payments and interest will be over $2 trillion. Not including the deficit. And the majority of that deficit comes from borrowing for Medicaid and Medicare. That's where the majority, that's over 50% of the United States deficit and spending come from is Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. That's what causes our problem. Until we get that taken care of and people actually are willing to do the hard thing and tell their constituents the truth and quit worrying about only power and money, will this country ever get saved? And it's both sides. There's obviously some people on the right that really want to do it. Obviously, the left, all they want to do is their goal is to tax more so they can keep spending more. But that doesn't work. Okay, I mean, look at, before, in President Trump's first term, while the only reason the deficit went up so high was because of COVID. But the problem is once we got in the end of President Trump's term, first of President Biden's term, the deficit got to over $3 trillion. And then the problem was it never got back down to where it was, which before COVID was barely over $1 trillion. Because, of course, once government gets used to spending a certain amount, they never want to cut it. They just want to spend more. And that's our problem. That's what we've got to fix. That's what we've got to take care of. That's what we got to get done. So, I mean, nothing's going to work till then. And the left sitting out here and calling President Trump or the ICE and all that tantamount to Gestapo, or calling him a dictator, or all this authoritarian doesn't help. Over 54% of the country still wants illegal immigrants deported. Trump is he's not a chicken. He is not going to back down. No matter how much people want to they tried to come up with that Trump always chickens out BS. He's not a chicken. He doesn't chicken out. The whole point of these tariffs was to get people to the negotiating table. So, of course, once he got them to the negotiating table to start negotiating deals, he backed off on the tariffs. It was never meant to just fully issue all those tariffs. It was meant to get us better trade deals, meant to remove non-tariff trade barriers. It was meant to give the benefit of our producers and our manufacturers to actually start exporting to countries like Europe, countries in Europe and England and stuff like that, or even be able to start exporting stuff to China or Canada that before they only exported to us. We couldn't export to them. They didn't import our stuff, or very little of our stuff. And that's what he's trying to do. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. But, all right, well, that's kind of a little bit everything. The end of it, I actually went about 10 minutes past the end of my, kind of went past my script that I ran out of, because honestly, I didn't have time to get a full thing going on, but got on a roll and kept going. So, please, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, which discussed the current political climate, including our nation's debt. Well, I didn't do debt crisis feud to begin with, but we discussed including the LA riots, and then pretty much all LA riots tonight, some immigration stuff with ICE and stuff, and the Democrats' attacks on them. So please join us 3 nights a week. Usually it's Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, but this week it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Current times are not set exactly, but it's usually around 6 or 7 p.m. You can go to our website at Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That's Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Go to the website there. If you sign up, it is free to sign up on the website. That gets you access to the blog I'm going to start doing, and also it gets you get your email, so I can email you whenever the next show is going to go if it's not at the normal time. I still have to work full time because I have not gotten enough viewers or stuff on here to do this full time. Don't have enough subscribers to monetize enough to make this full time. So I still have a full time job. I'm finishing up my doctoral degree, plus I have 3 kids. So every once in a while something happens, I can't get on here exactly at the same time every day. So if I have your email, I can let you know when I'm going to be on for the next time. And then also, like I said, usually within 30 minutes to an hour after I do these episodes. Currently, I've got it. I'm uploading to on why am I forgetting the name now? Drawing a blank here for a second, but hold on one. Oh, why is it not showing me on here? But yeah, so I upload it to Spotify. That's right. So yeah, usually within an hour and a half after it's uploaded to Spotify, you can catch all the episodes there. Or like I said, the episodes are all up on the website too, so you can catch them there. And then once I can figure out why the Spotify is not able to generate a script off of it, then I will also start uploading them to the audio only to Amazon, iHeart, and Apple. But for now, it's just Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble, Locals, and Spotify. Also, if you go to my website, all of my links are on there. The subscribe button down at the bottom, that's to the Locals channel. That's do the subscription through Rumble right now. You can subscribe on there to help support the show, and more subscribers I get, the better chance I get to be able to do this full time. Also, I'll start doing some subscriber only content plus one-on-one, either comments, questions, or discussions. So let me know what you think. And please give me your feedback, comments, likes, follow, share. Help me get this out. I just started. I've only been doing this about a month and a half. So if you have any constructive criticism of what you would like to see done different or see done better, or how you think I could improve the show, structure of content-wise, or anything like that, just let me know. Obviously, I know getting interviews or co-host in here would be great. If you think it would benefit having you on as a guest or a co-host, or even with production stuff, let me know. My email, you can contact me through the email there on my website. I've got a contact form on there. You can also contact me on my Facebook page or through Instagram.